Millions of people are living with them every single day. Chances are you, someone in your family, or someone you know is living with food allergies. Coming up, we'll learn more about how to keep those with allergies safe, and we'll share one little boy's amazing story. That and more in this episode of Arroyo Live. Hello and welcome to another episode of Arroyo Live. I'm LaTanya Norton. Thank you for joining us. Well, May is Allergy Awareness Month, and specifically May 14th through May 20th is Food Allergy Awareness Month. Joining us today to tell us more about this topic, we have Priscilla Hernandez and her 10-year-old son, Zaki Munoz, and they're both here to tell us their experiences with food allergies. Thank you so much for being a part of the program.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you both again. So Priscilla, we'll start with you. Tell us about your story, your son's story specifically, when it comes to food allergies.
Yeah, well, thank you again for allowing us to be on and kind of sharing our experience during this month, which, like you said, is Food Allergy Awareness Month. I was a mom. Zaki was my first out of two. I have two amazing little boys, Zaki and I have a kinder, a 5-year-old, Jacob. But with Zaki, being a new mom and it's always it's always an experience in itself, right? You're trying to find your way and things are new all the time. But with Zaki, I quickly found out that we had a new situation that I was unfamiliar with. Nobody I knew was familiar with the subject, and it was food allergies. And when he got diagnosed, he was probably roughly around 6 months that we were able to kind of pin it down to being food allergies. But prior to that, it was just a lot of not understanding these signs that now are pretty crystal clear. Fast forward. So what we've done is we've dealt with food allergies his whole life. And it was something that we just, were careful of when he was born. But his first grade year, Zaki suffered not one, but 2 anaphylactic reactions when his safe food was switched out with allergen being sesame. And from there on, our lives kind of changed a little bit in the sense of how we looked at food allergies, how we addressed them internally in our households, and then how we talked about them. Because, food allergies became a very elevated in seriousness because he did experience anaphylaxis.
Now take us back to 6 months when he was an infant and he had that first reaction. What was that? What were some of the symptoms? I know it had to be devastating as a new mom, but what reaction did he have?
So when Zaki was born, he had a lot of eczema. And it was just, he always had hives and things of that nature. And I just kind of took it for being something different. Maybe it was just his, being sensitive skin. And also, the doctors also said, hey, maybe it's just a formula. It's just upsetting his tummy, that kind of thing, because he was crying a lot at that point. But when he hit 6 months, that's when my mother gave him a banana, and I think it touched his skin, and I instantly saw the association between the two. And then for us, it narrowed it down to associated with a food, so a food allergy. From there, we took him to allergists, we took him to pediatricians. It was still an unfamiliar topic. I don't think it was a primary thing that a lot of the pediatricians focused on. So it wasn't until really down the line that we were able to really kind of get a real accurate diagnosis by blood tests and skin tests and things of that nature. And we found out he's allergic to an array of things.
What are some of the things you're allergic to? Let's bring you into the conversation. And I have to stand corrected, Zaki. You're not 10 years old. You just turned 11. So pardon me for that. Happy birthday.
Thanks. I'm allergic to tree nuts, peanuts, shellfish, beans, peas, avocados, and sesame.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we've had to navigate that. Yeah, it's quite a list.
Now, in first grade, you received a call that no mother wants to receive. Tell me about that.
So I I got a call from the nurse, and the nurse initially called me and said, Zacky's in here. He was 6 years old. He thinks he may have eaten his allergen. We're not quite sure. He thinks it's sesame because he turned around his bread and he saw a seed. So I'm going to show him on the computer what a sesame seed looks like. Because mind you, it's a kinder or a 6-year-old, right? And she said, but I think he's fine. That next phone call that happened right after that was quick elevation. It went to, are you here yet? Where are you? And I wasn't even close. I had my little one still, at the house. And at that point, I heard Zachy crying in the background and her trying to administer the epinephrine. She said, I have to give him an EpiPen. And he's crying and he's saying, no, I don't want it. I don't want a shot. And from there, he experienced his first anaphylactic reaction. So yeah, it's something that no mother wants to hear, especially you're their mom. You want to be there in those kind of situations. Again, that's the turning point for us to take action with our own lives and also just kind of get the word out with other individuals about it.
And Zachy, you're smiling right now. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Wow, that was scary, wasn't it?
It was pretty scary. I was kind of nervous, but turned out to be, well, it wasn't okay, but still here, so.
You're still here. Wow. And what I want to do now is fast forward to the amazing work that the two of you have done, mother and son. I cannot applaud you enough. Tell us about Zachy's Law. Tell us all the things that you have going on. Zachy, you're on social media. I saw that you were Food Allergy Hero of the Month for September. Is that right?
Yeah.
What's going on? How have you turned this around to help so many other kids?
Well, when that happened, the allergic reaction, we understood what happened. So me and my mom worked together and we just really wanted to change things for kids who have food allergies like me. Me and my mom have worked hard. We made a law, the Zachy bill. We've been on social media making sure that we get the word out and all the people here. And right now we're actually working on a new law called the Munoz Safe Act.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell us about that.
The Munoz Safe Act, and SAFE standing for Student Allergy Framework for Education, makes sure that more people are able to be trained to administer epinephrine. And it allows more people to have access to epinephrine, like teachers and after-school program staff.
Yeah. And in addition to that, it makes it accessible. One of the things with there's no cure for food allergies, unfortunately, and the only form of intervention is epinephrine and through an auto injector. And right now, many schools, the way they practice, some schools have nurses and they're fortunate enough to be able to act quickly. You have smaller schools in the state that might not have the same resources. And so therefore, the way they handle epinephrine and where they put it, whether they lock it up, unfortunately, sometimes because they maybe the nurse is not there or somebody's not there. And it's time of the essence and it's needed when it's needed. And so what this bill will do, in addition to all the things Zachy said, is also make it accessible at all time, make sure that it isn't locked up. Unfortunately, there was a tragedy that happened in Texas a couple of months ago. Actually, a little girl that was 11 years old. The nurse was not there, so they couldn't get to the epinephrine in enough time. So we know things like this could happen, and we think that these are just small steps, but they're huge steps for our community to just make it a little safer for kids when they go to school.
And that was my next question, and you just answered it. What happens when a child needs that EpiPen, that epinephrine,
Yeah,
and the nurse is not there? Shouldn't all teachers be trained to administer it?
Yeah, well, so again, it depends on the school and the resources they have. Some schools have full-time nurses, some schools maybe have part-time nurses, but they also have volunteers that are available. What this does is expands the amount of possibility for those to get trained. And if they have they're already certified and have been vetted by the schools, and it opens up to about 5,000 new individuals that can get trained in addition to what they have right now. So that's going to make a huge difference, especially like those in the middle of the states that have very small, resources and very little resources.
That is wonderful. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Great work you all are doing. So there is an online database, right? For thanks to Zaki's Law, there's an online database where anyone can go, but especially school administrators, teachers, staff, and the like. They can go and find out about school food allergies at school. Tell us how that works.
So Zaki's bill, it was passed last year. Thank you. And Governor Newsom actually signed it, did a bill signing with Zaki and everything because he was so supportive of the initiative. But essentially what it does is it provides an online resource that shows available resources. You might want to.
It shows what resources are available, what to do if you have food allergies, and ways to prevent anaphylaxis.
And we know anaphylaxis is the most serious reaction.
Oh, absolutely. And
It
it
can be
also,
fatal.
I'm sorry.
I'm
And it
sorry.
also provides a list of how you can get the ingredients that you need in the school for your student. The website will be coming out pretty soon. We're actually working with the Department of Education right now, helping to craft it. Because in addition to that information, we're trying to give our input as to like making it user friendly for those that need it the most, parents like us and kids like us. So it's in the process. It'll probably be coming out in the next month or so officially. But it's all one-stop shop. You're exactly right. One-stop shop of getting all your information that you need. So you won't have to navigate a system. It was largely a result too, because when you go through as a mom and you have a child with food allergies, trying to find there may be resources out there for you, but trying to find those resources and trying to navigate the process is quite a task.
Wow. Wow. And none of this happened overnight. You all went through several legislative meetings and that sort of thing. What was that like? Tell me about that.
Well, it was kind of cool. We drove up to Sacramento and we got to testimonies and we talked in front of the committees and in the legislative branches. We were basically there on the whole ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we followed the bill from the beginning. It goes from one house to the other. It goes from one committee to or several committees, depending on where it's assigned. For this one, it was education. Then it went to appropriations. So we followed it, and we basically, made sure that the lawmakers and those that were making the decisions knew about it and knew how important it would impact our community.
And what I have recently have been reading about is an article, Washington Post, as it relates to sesame and the fact that the new food safety law endangers kids with sesame allergens.
Yeah. So the FASTER Act, which was passed which is a federal law that was passed in the first 100 days of Biden's administration. The intention of the FASTER Act was to ensure that sesame would be labeled as a 9th major allergen. When you go to stores, you'll look in the back and it'll say the top 8. Now it says the top 9, including sesame, because there is such a great amount of kids and individuals that are starting to have or show that they have sesame allergy. The intention of the bill was essentially to do that, to provide open access, to be able to make things more comfortable for those with food allergies, provide more resources. Unfortunately, the intention is not being fulfilled by many companies. Because there is an extra step that needs to happen. And so companies are choosing, instead of cleaning their lines, to actually add sesame to the ingredients of breads and things of that nature that never had it. So
Sesame powder, right?
Yeah, it's sesame flour.
Flour,
So they're adding just enough so this way they don't have to take the extra precaution and kind of go around the law itself, which has been such a terrible thing for our community. We saw it as a victory when the FASTER Act went through, because it was bipartisan. Everybody felt it was for the right cause, and now the intention is not being followed. The FDA and FAIR and other organizations are working hand in hand to kind of make that hopefully get that going the right way. But right now it just has really, unfortunately, narrowed our world a little more because of that.
Because there are people who have been eating certain foods thinking that it has no sesame, and now unbeknownst to them, and they find out after an allergic reaction that it actually does have traces of sesame, correct?
We had an experience, actually, I heard about it, but then to have it happen to us, we went to Einstein Bagel and we had our bagels, and it's one of Zacky's safe dishes. And one Saturday we went in there and Zacky was about to eat it. He had it in his mouth, and I just said, let me just double, triple check, even though we've had
Right.
it. And sure enough, it had it on there, so he had to spit it out. So from there on, we've again been pretty vocal about that process. And Zacky actually, when they were going through the process of talking to their legislators on a federal level, he was able to talk to our representatives at the time too, to kind of get that, to advocate on that particular bill. So we're just hopeful that companies just start doing the right thing, and making sure that the intention is followed through on.
How have you been received by others, other parents, others in the food allergy community as a result of all the work you've done?
Oh, it has been amazing. We have such a community. I didn't know about the community until he was born into it, and it's such a tight-knit one. It's composed of individuals that have these health issues. It's composed of mothers and parents that want the best for their kids and their future, and it's such a embracing group. We work very closely with FAIR, which is Food Allergy Research and Education. I'm an advisor on their board as an ambassador, and we know that we have that support, that network, always trying to give us the most accurate information to make our lives simpler, and we're so appreciative of it.
Wow. And it looks like I feel like this is just the beginning. There's so many other things coming. I know you all are on top of things with the SAFER Act and the sesame we just mentioned. We also know about new options available for EpiPens and, that administering that to people. So this has just been so much work, but there's still so much to do, right?
Absolutely. As you mentioned, the epinephrine is the only form of intervention, and the only form that it's put into to administer is an auto injector, which requires a needle. And it's something that has been that way. It's been effective, but it's been that way for decades, and there hasn't been other ways of exploring how we can administer that same medicine. But recently, with the FDA has gone through its final stage of potentially approving nasal spray. So the epinephrine would come through the nasal spray. It wouldn't be as traumatic on kids and just individuals if you're adverse to needles, and just make it a little bit easier to carry and things of that nature. So we've been really vocal about helping to get that going, because there should be more options. I mean, there are 32 million Americans that suffer from food allergies. 1 in 13 in schools are kids that have food allergies. So it's exponentially growing, and the need is definitely there, but the amount of resources just hasn't caught up quite yet. And we want to get that there.
Zacky, what's it like to advocate for yourself? That's pretty good stuff. That's big.
Well, advocating yourself is not the easiest, but something that once you get to do, it gets easier. You need to always tell a person about your food allergies, always double, triple, and maybe even sometimes quadruple check the ingredients list. And it's really important that everybody just knows about your allergies. It's better for everybody to know than somebody accidentally putting something that you're allergic to in your food. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just something that you need to embrace.
Yeah.
Do you find that more kids share their food allergy stories with you?
Yeah, I actually know a lot of kids who have food allergies, and they all share their part of story of having food allergies, which really makes me feel included and not feeling like I'm alone in this food allergy world.
Yeah. And that's with most things. All it takes is one brave person to step forward and to say, this is what it is. This is what I have. And you'll find that more people feel empowered by that. So congrats to you, because you're that brave person.
Thank you.
You're that brave person. What tips do you have for kids, even adults, people living with food allergies?
I just want to say, feel like you can make a difference. Don't believe that there's no way you can create change. There's always going to be a way. Just advocate for yourself, work hard, and maybe one day we might stop this food allergy crisis.
That would be awesome. And I saw a smile on your face when your mom talked about the potential of going from a needle to a nasal spray. Your face lit up. You would prefer that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like I'm gonna be honest, I don't think many children like shots.
I think you're right. I don't think many adults like shots. Right here. So especially if you can get it, through a nasal spray, or as you said, in a perfect world, there would be no need for it at all. That would be pretty awesome. Well, I think what you're doing and what your mom is doing, I think the two of you are pretty awesome. I want to ask you a little bit about food allergies one-on-one in Zackie's Universe. What's that all about?
Well, first off, Zackie's Universe is my website / just kind of my brand.
Okay.
Like we use it's like a trademark to advocate for food allergies, and it's basically our symbol to just help food allergies.
Yeah, it's his universe, it's a universe. It really is. Like, it's a world that you kind of go into because you do the things that everybody else does, but you have to just do it a little different. And that's been kind of the motto, do things a little different. We find even eating substitutions. I live on substitution. I cook. And when things say, oh, you need sesame oil, I'm like, okay, what's the substitution for that? Or you can substitute butter with applesauce. I mean, there's things that you learn in cooking and doing things differently that you're able to kind of just do things like everybody else, but just make it special to you. And that's what Zackie's doing. That's what Zackie's Universe is about. And we're starting one of the first episodes. We're putting a web series together, and the first episode is talking about
food allergy 101. We're talking about facts and basically the basics of food allergies.
Wow. I just love it. And, statistics kind of tell it all. I'm looking at statistics that say 85 million Americans are living with life-threatening food allergies or intolerances. 377%. There's been a 377% increase in treatment of diagnosed anaphylactic reactions in food between 2007 and 2016. And get this, every 3 minutes, a food allergy reaction sends someone to the emergency room. Every 3 minutes. So in this conversation alone, think about that. How many people have shown up to the emergency room with a food allergy? And then when you talk about some of the major food allergens, milk, eggs, fish, crustaceans, tree nuts, you mentioned that, peanuts, wheat, soybeans, many of the foods that you mentioned, Zackie, and so many other people can relate to. And I'm sure you can relate to some of these symptoms: dizziness, lightheadedness, itchy skin, rashes, hives. I heard you mention hives, swelling of the lips, face, eyes, coughing, wheezing. The list goes on and on, sneezing, itching, runny noses, feeling sick. But the bottom line is, number one, you're not alone if you're living with this. Number two, there are ways to combat this. And one of the main ways is to read those labels. When you're in the stores, when you're shopping for foods, even if you're at a restaurant, ask those questions, read those labels, because we've learned in this conversation that even when you do that, you're still not 100% safe, right?
Yeah, true. Absolutely. And I think that you hit it right. It's just constantly being knowing things that are outside of you to change, and just being prepared is really important. And that's how we deal with things. But we're not scared of life. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to teach my son, and I'm teaching myself as well, is that you can't be scared to try new things. You might have to be cautious, right? But you got to live your life and just work with other people and create that awareness to make it as easy as possible. You know, food allergies are a first tier health issue. We have 32 million, as I mentioned, that specifically suffer with food allergies.
Right.
Comparatively, there's 30, I believe there's like 33 million that have diabetes. So it's a very comparable as far as the amount of numbers that it's impacting health issue. So it's something that it's great that we're starting to move forward and get more resources out there. But again, like I mentioned, they're just not enough. Our initiative has really been focused on I work at a nonprofit organization dedicated to at-risk youth. And when Zachy had this experience, I was fortunate enough to be able to navigate a system, to have resources, have a little bit more time to go through things to make it safe for him. But the website, for example, the reason, large part of that website that we wanted to create was because not everybody has the luxury of that time or those resources to be able to navigate things. And what it essentially would do is put it all in one location so it's accessible to all. Same thing with this epinephrine being accessible to everyone because every school is in a different situation. So we're just, trying to level the playing field in regards to having the resources available for kids. And it's just really just you work with what you got, right?
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Now,
He's an eternal optimist, right, Zachy. That's
I'm
great.
sorry, what was that?
He's an eternal optimist.
I love that. That's so great. That is so great. And another thing I want to mention is that a lot of times food allergies develop later on in life.
Mhm.
That we've seen that happen a lot, or an intolerance. A lot of people become lactose intolerant later in life, or that sort of thing. I'm not really sure, how that works or how that happens, but that is something that should be noted. And another thing is, don't be afraid to go to the doctor. If you suspect that, hey, every time I eat this food or every time, you've seen a pattern or whatever, don't self-diagnose. I'm sure you would agree, but go to the doctor because you can actually get tested. Explain how it works to be tested for food allergies.
Yeah, so and I absolutely agree with you. There's people that I have met that say, oh, I have a food allergy, but they have no epinephrine. So if something happens and they have a reaction, anaphylactic reaction, that just puts them in a very serious situation. Now you can go to the doctor, you can get blood tests. So Zachy will get blood tests kind of on an annual basis to see where he is. And it'll tell you, that's like the first level of being able to tell you how severe you might potentially be reactive to an allergen. The next level is a skin test, which is they actually put the allergen on your skin, which again, Zachy has had this. And that not only that goes along with the blood test to show if you're actually reactive, and it also shows in the blood. I mean, you don't know exactly how your body's going to react when you have your allergen, but that gives you a really good understanding of where it might be and gets you prepared to have, your epinephrine at the right time.
It's a great thing to do. Wouldn't you agree, Zachy?
Yeah. It's always good to know what your allergen is, even though that it can be a little scary. Knowing your allergen is very important because it's better to get one tiny shot than to have an allergic reaction.
Yeah. And, I don't think a lot of people even knew that you could actually get tested to find out what foods you're allergic to. So that's great information. So before we run out of time, we did mention that we are going to see an episode 1 of Zachy's Universe. That's going to be coming up in just a couple of minutes. But before we end this conversation, I just want to know, what are your final thoughts? Maybe you have advice, Priscilla, for moms, because you have I just love the story of you all taking something that was so scary at one point, but you turned it into something that is actually empowering for others, and it can save lives. So what advice do you have for moms out there? And then when she finishes, Zachy, I want to know what advice you have as well. Priscilla?
Yeah, I definitely have advice for moms, and that's don't be afraid to speak up. It's really easy, especially if you feel like the journey, sometimes you feel like you're alone. I didn't find our community, we didn't find it until a little bit later. So we were one of the first to speak up, not only just amongst our community, but, in school and things of that nature. And I think sometimes it might seem intimidating, it might not seem like it's being comprehended or understood, but just you keep on, you know what's right for your child, you're your child's advocate. To ensure their safety is not only great for them and for your household, it's great for everyone. So understand that what you're doing is you're laying a foundation not only for yourself, but for many others that come after you. And I think that inspired me to keep going and moving forward, and it should inspire all of us. And I guess that would be my primary advice.
Absolutely. And Zachy, you get the last word.
Well, I just think that's really important to really know what to do with food allergies and just be good, and basically just make sure that you always know that you're not alone. Know that you can stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself. And remember that having food allergies doesn't make you different. Well, it does. It makes you special.
And knowledge is power. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, both of you, for being a part of the program. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Arroyo Live. And now, without further ado, episode 1 of Zachy's Universe, Food Allergies 101.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are 33 million Americans with food allergies in the U.S., and 1 in 13 of them are children. And it's more common nowadays to know somebody who has a food allergy, or something they can't be around or not even come in contact with. But what are food allergies? What causes food allergies to happen? What happens if you have an allergic reaction? And also, what's the difference between a food allergy and an intolerance? Well, you're about to find out. It seems like food allergies are more common. Well, are they? According to the CDC, they are. In fact, food allergies have risen 50% in children between 1997 and 2011. Between 1997 and 2008, nut allergies like tree nuts and peanuts have almost tripled in U.S. children. And additionally, the sesame is now the 9th major allergen in the U.S. This is right up my alley because I have food allergies. And when you have food allergies, you need to know some basic information, like the stuff I'm going to tell you today. So, what are food allergies? To dive deeper in the science of food allergies, let's call on my good friend, Professor Doodle. Professor Doodle, you're on.
Thanks, Zachy. When you have a food allergy, your body makes antibody, better known as IgE or immunoglobulin E. This class of antibody binds to immune cells called mast cells and basophils that circulates within your body. When you are exposed to a food that has your allergy, it attaches to the IgE antibodies. This signals to the immune cells that there is danger and that it should release histamine and other chemicals that cause allergy symptoms, such as swelling, hives, and shortness of breath. An allergic reaction can result at any time, oftentimes after 1/2 hour after exposure, but can happen events sooner. The worst form of a reaction is anaphylaxis. So what is anaphylaxis? Anaphylaxis can result in a drop in blood pressure, fainting, trouble breathing, and the real possibility of death. That, coupled with other conditions like asthma, are even more at risk of a severe reaction. Anaphylaxis must be treated with epinephrine, a hormone, which helps open up the airway and maintains blood pressure. Therefore, those with food allergies are often prescribed by their doctor an auto-injector that delivers a dose of epinephrine to the thigh muscle. There is no cure for food allergies, but administering epinephrine is an effective intervention to stop symptoms in place. Back to you, Zachy.
Thanks, Professor Doodle. So, now that we know the science behind food allergies, let's talk food intolerances. What's the difference between food allergy and an intolerance? For that, we asked some people. Do you know the difference between a food allergy and an intolerance?
Yeah! What's that, Tolerance?
What's the difference between a food allergy and an intolerance? What's the difference between a food allergy and an intolerance? It turns out not many people knew. So I asked somebody who always knows everything, because moms are always right. So I asked my own mom. Hey Mom, what's the difference between a food allergy and intolerance?
Thanks, Zachy. Food allergies and intolerances are often mistaken for each other. In fact, food allergies and intolerances may present themselves on the onset of their symptoms in a very similar way, from bloating to hives to a general uneasiness after eating. However, they are very different. While food allergies result from an immune system reaction to a specific food, food intolerance usually involves the digestive system, not the immune system. An intolerance is when you can't digest food properly. It's different from an allergy because your body doesn't see food as an invader or a threat. It essentially has trouble absorbing and breaking down the food because there is an enzyme deficiency. Symptoms for intolerances may include bloating, excess gas, stomach pains, amongst other things. Though food intolerances are serious, only food allergies can be life-threatening. Both should be seen and treated by a professional. Back to you, Zachy. Mom loves you.
Thanks, Mom! Now that we have that cleared up, let's explore options that you can help yourself if you have food allergies, or if you have a friend that you just want to give them a helping hand. So, you may be wondering, what type of options or cures are there for food allergies? Unfortunately, there's no cure for food allergies. So, therefore, it's extremely important for those who have food allergies are prescribed and carry an epinephrine auto-injectors. Should someone have a severe allergic reaction, use of epinephrine is needed. When administering an auto-injector, the rule is blue to the sky, orange to the thigh. Remove the blue cap before administering. Inject in the thigh at a 90-degree angle. Hold in place for at least 10 seconds. There are other options being used to manage your food allergy, like oral immune therapy, or OIT for short, early introduction, just to name a few. But plain old avoidance is most common. Oral immune therapy, OIT, involves ingesting increased doses of your allergen to desensitize your immune system, eventually training your immune system not to react to the food problem. OIT typically starts with a very small dose of food allergen, consumed under medical supervision. These doses are increased, then increased again, and so on. This must be a lifelong practice in order to maintain the impact.
I'm sorry, it's just I've never actually touched a nut before, so just like this. So
Touch them all you want. I know. I know, isn't that cool? Hopefully this is a nut that you'll be able to eat.
I really don't want to do this.
Early introduction is another method being used. Recent studies and guidelines are changing the way some pediatricians and allergists are advising food introduction. In recent years, significant amount of research has been presented suggesting that early allergen introduction to babies and/or toddlers may reduce the risk of developing specific food allergies later. Finally, avoidance has and continues to be the most common practice, especially for people who have food allergies, just avoiding the allergen altogether. Much more research is needed for this growing problem, but until then, embracing a food allergy lifestyle is key. The best way to manage your food allergies on a daily basis is to read your labels, wipe off surfaces, and to have your epinephrine. Reading labels is an important part of food allergy lifestyle, and if any of your food does not have an ingredients list, don't take the risk. Like I always say, no list, don't risk. Remember, most products found in the market will have ingredient lists on the package. And as of 2023, the top 9 food allergies should be clearly labeled on the package as well. If unclear, never be afraid to contact the manufacturer. You can be allergic to any type of food, but the top 9 major recognized food allergies in the US are tree nuts, peanuts, shellfish, wheat, milk, fish, eggs, soy, and sesame. When eating out, try to see the restaurant's website ahead of time. They usually have the ingredients near the menu section. Make sure to ask the waiter at the restaurant for the ingredients to double check that they're up to date. And don't be shy to ask the manager for a triple check. For those who don't have food allergies and just want to be considerate, remember, communication and inclusion are always the answer. Although having food allergies makes it a little more difficult to navigate, having creative substitutions is the solution. Substitutions is basically just swapping one food for another, for a food allergy, a diet, or just for flavor. So with food allergies is more likely to eat in and find creative ways to substitute their allergies. Like, did you know that applesauce can be a replacement for eggs as a binder in a recipe? Coconut oil can be a good substitution for butter. And oats can be a good substitution for wheat. Having food allergies doesn't mean that you cannot have familiar food. It just means you have to swap out one ingredient for another one. Now that we know the basics of food allergies, and thinking of all this food, I'm hungry. And I bet you are too. So let's check out this episode of me and Chef Leslie Durso making a delicious top 9 free pizza pie. Hi, Zachy here, and today I'm with my good friend Leslie.
And we're doing kid cuisine, but we've got a special twist on them. We're making them all allergen friendly and 100% plant-based. This is Kid Cuisine Remixed. Yes. You can't make pizza without cheese, am I right?
You just can't.
No, you just can't. So today we are going to make an allergen-friendly cheese sauce.
That sounds awesome.
It's going to be awesome. We're going to start by taking some butter and melting it in our medium-sized pot.
Okay.
We're going to get that butter melted down. So I'm just going to start with my wooden spoon. I don't know why a wood spoon always works best, but it does. Okay, it's all melted down. So I'm gonna add this flour, and you're gonna stir quickly because you want it to become like a sandy mixture in there. We're using wheat flour today, but don't forget to go to foodallergy.org/substitutions to get all of my favorite wheat substitutions. Next in is our plant-based milk. We're using oat milk today because of your allergies. And we're gonna slowly stir a little bit of it in first and get it nice and wet. We're just gonna continue adding little by little until this all gets dissolved and it's nice and thick and creamy. This is creamy and smooth and perfectly ready for pizza.
Pizza assemble!
All right, Zachy, I have got our pizza crust. Now, you can use whatever pre-made or homemade pizza crust works for your allergies. I've got these today. We've got our tomato sauce, we've got our cheesy sauce, and then I know that you love vegetables. So I'm gonna put veggies on mine. I'm gonna put peppers and mushrooms on mine, which are my favorite. Do you like mushrooms?
Yes, but do you want to hear a joke?
I would love to hear a joke.
Why did the mushroom go to the pizza party?
Why?
Because he's the fun guy.
I love it. Well, we're gonna have a pizza party today, and I'm gonna put the fun guys on my pie. What's the first thing we put on pizza?
Sauce.
Sauce, exactly. So we'll take our homemade sauce, but you can use whatever your favorite is. And we're just gonna spoon on a couple big scoops.
It smells really good.
I love sauce too. I'm a saucy kind of gal. All right, so big question. Do you like your toppings underneath your cheese or on top of your cheese?
On top.
Okay, so then you're gonna put your cheese on top. So we're just gonna, this is very hot, so I'm gonna do this for you if you don't mind.
Okay.
We're gonna take some of that cheesy sauce and we're gonna place it in little drops. So now for mine, I like my cheese on top. So we're gonna put a couple veggies on. I'm gonna do some peppers, one of each color, because why not? And of course, I've got my fungi, also known as mushrooms.
You're the fun guy.
You're the fungi.
Basil, yep.
You know what I really like on my pizza too is fresh basil. Do you like fresh basil on your pizza?
Yeah.
Yes. So let's grab some leaves off our basil plant.
I love fresh basil.
Okay, great. And then just
It
kind of,
tastes so nice.
it does taste so nice, right? And it smells so nice. So we're just gonna take some and, do you know where pizza comes from?
Mamma mia, pizzeria.
It doesn't come from a pizzeria. It comes from Italy as the original place for pizza, but they do serve it at pizzerias. Mamma mia.
Pizzeria.
All right, I'm gonna top mine with some cheesy sauce and then we're gonna get these in the oven. I've got the oven at 400 degrees, but use whatever your package says for your crust or as hot as your oven goes if you're making it from scratch. All right, what do you think? How do those look? Chef's kiss, I love it. Let's get these in the oven. What do you think?
It smells so good.
So good, right? Let's cut these up. Oh, mine's getting sloppy with all those veggies. But I'm a girl who likes a lot.
Still, it's a lot.
I live on the edge of a lot. Ooh, they are hot, but I think we should try them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Pick your piece.
Piece.
Ooh, it's hot. Okay, give it some blow.
Pretty good.
Delicious.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, right? That cheese sauce is nice and creamy. Wow, you're getting it okay. He likes it a lot. 2 thumbs up from Zachy.
5.
5 thumbs up from Zachy. I love it. All right, well, I think if this is a race, I'm clearly going to lose, but we'll give it a shot.
For the latest videos and tips, check out my website at www.zackysuniverse.com. See you there!
Zachy and I approve this message.